welcome back. Okay, so now it's time for us to add a user interface to this application. Here's what I think I'm going to do. So right now we have a single repo that's got our API. I do regret actually not putting it in a subdirectory called API. I'm not going to change that. What I will do is I will start putting our user interface code into a directory called UI. So let's do that. Let's plan to do a new folder, call it UI. Cool. Now the world's simplest UI is going to be just an empty web page. So let me go in here. And I'll go HTML. Oh, sorry, index.html. Hello world. Right. Now, next thing, I want to be able to display this web page. Now, I've actually got a nice little shortcut installed. There's different ways you could do this in Visual Studio Code. I've added an extension called Open in Browser, which actually lets me do two important things. One is, well, not really that important. I can open it in the default browser or in another browser. For this, I'm just going to open the default browser. There's my hello world. So, not rocket science so far. Let's go back to code. Okay, so what do we want to do next? I mentioned that we're going to build this in Elm. So why don't we go over to one of the Elm websites and start off with one of the real simple demos. And we can talk through it. I'll just go here and we'll search for Elm Programming. There it is, elmprogramming.com. And on here, build a simple web page. Let's start there. Oh, by the way, you can go through here. You'll need to install the Elm compiler. For reference, I should mention, let's see, I think I'm currently running version 0.19.1. Okay, so this is a traditional web page. They start off by showing you a traditional web page. Well, why don't we grab this to see what it looks like? So we're going to go back to our copy of code, and we're going to replace hello world with Dunder Mifflin. So let's open this up, view in default browser. There, that's kind of what a traditional web page looks like, traditional static web page. Let's go back to code, and let's go back to, oh, I can't believe I closed it. I closed the wrong file. Sorry guys, let's do that one more time. We're going to go to Elm Programming. We're going to go to building a simple web page. So we grab this. This is a normal web page, and here is kind of the body section of the web page where we have a div and it's got some content, including, paragraph, blah, blah, blah. And what we're going to do in this example is we're just going to write some Elm code to render this section for us. Okay, so this is kind of the contents, and we're going to write some Elm code to build the equivalent web page. Let's keep going down. So it looks like we need to do the elm init command. Right, so let's go back to code. And I'm going to go here. Right, so in our UI directory, so I've gone to our UI directory, and yeah, this would be where I do the elm init. So elm init, yes, please give me that file. Please create everything for me. Nice. So we have this Elm JSON. Great. And we don't need to worry about this one right now. We'll look at it later. This is basically, you can bring in other Elm packages. It's just like package JSON. Well, equivalent idea. Okay, we're going to go back to our HTML. And then we're going to go back to this sample web page. Right. You read through here. Ultimately, we are going to create. Actually, we might as well do it now. This is the Elm code that we're going to execute. As mentioned here, it says, "Oh, I'm expecting homepage.elm to be in, the source directory." Okay, that makes sense. Actually, one thing with Elm is it's nicely opinionated. It kind of enforces, well, it recommends putting certain files in certain directories. So, for example, if I'm creating a module called homepage, the name of the module should be homepage. So let's go do that. Let's go back to our Visual Studio, and in our source directory, we're going to create a new file called homepage.elm. Oops, .elm? Pretty close. Elm. Oh, speaking about plugins, you probably will want, so if you're using Visual Studio Code like I am, I really like that open in browser. It's a nice shortcut. But another one you'll want to do is the main Elm plugin. And it'll give you some really nice immediate feedback when you're putting in your code. So there we go. So far, so good. So I've got this Elm homepage. And yeah, you'll see how this is hooked up in just a moment. So one thing we'll need to do is we need to compile this. And here's the command that you would usually use to compile that Elm. Now, eventually, we'll probably automate more and more of this. But for now, we're just going to do it by hand. So back to Visual Studio Code. And I'll need to be in my UI directory. Yes. Because I want to be here. You'll see why in a second. Because the make command will basically, let's see, it's going to go into the source directory. It's going to compile homepage.elm, and it's going to output a file called elm.js, and it'll output that file in the current directory, which will be the UI directory. So we'll do that. And did it compile to the right place? Yes, it did. Okay. So now we go back to our example, and here's kind of actually it's nice. This is totally like every Elm application kind of bootstraps itself like this. At some point, actually let's paste this in and then we'll talk through what it does. So we're going to go back to code. We're going to replace the HTML. So this is the original HTML, the Dunder Mifflin website, and we're going to replace this with, actually similar size, but the actual implementation for the website is now coming from an elm.js file. So really quickly, let's just go through just a high-level overview. It's your regular HTML file. You include some. So here's Bootstrap. So we're including Bootstrap. So all of those styles. Here's some extra styling that this web page needs. Finally, this is kind of, I'll call it the magic. All this really does. We start off with the body, and then there's a div here where the content is going to be dynamically replaced with whatever Elm wants to put in there. So the Elm code that we write is responsible for basically replacing the content of this div. And you can kind of see that down here. So yeah, we create this div and it's got an ID, and there's the ID, Elm app loaded here. And you can see, later we basically load that elm.js file. So we load the compiled elm.js source. And then we finally, at the end of the script here, we execute this main, basically it's the Elm runner, you could call it. This is the main entry point for Elm, and we say, hey, please, run the Elm code, and also replace this div's content. I don't think I did a very good job explaining that, but that's the gist of it. Okay, so from this we can see that the Elm code, we compile that, it generates this elm.js file, and which basically is responsible for whatever appears here. So let's see if this works. We're going to compile the, oh yeah, we already did that. Did I do that recently though? Let's see. Do it one more time. Yeah, okay. So in theory, let's open up this index.js. We're going to open in the browser. Once again, I'm just going to repeat what's going to happen is, this is going to be the index.js, and this will be dynamically replaced with whatever Elm put in here. We can see the Elm script right here. So let's open this up, and this should look identical. So open in default browser, and it does. It does. In fact, let's quickly take a look. Oh, I can't believe I closed the website. No, I did close the website. Good, yeah. Let's take a look at what we just did. Okay, let's take a peek at the Elm code itself. It's pretty simple, at least at this point. Oop, not that. That's the compiled Elm code, elm.js. Here's our home page. And you can probably kind of see it's almost exactly, it's basically we're using the Elm syntax to model the DOM. So, we create a div, and it's got some attributes. One of them is class. So the div has got the Jumbotron class. And then inside this div, you notice this, it's an array. Inside the div, we have some more elements. We've got an H1. We got an H1 with some text in it. Welcome to Dunder Mifflin. Then we have a paragraph tag. Once again with no attributes, but with some subnodes in it. So this has got, sorry, not some subnodes. It's got some text. And then it also has some stuff for, more and more stuff, including, let's see, looks like we got a text node here. Oh, right. A text node here, followed by that, remember there was a bold, so a strong attribute, followed by another text node, and then this text node where it's kind of convenient to do a multi-liner. So that's the pipe operator that says, hey, all of these lines, just send that into that text node. So that's kind of the high-level overview of how this works. We don't need to get into the details. We're going to start, we're going to basically take this, and we're going to apply it to build this. So we're going to transform this simple home page, and we're going to build something more like this. And that's the direction that we're going to go. So hope you join me for the next one. Thank you.